Hola, everyone, and welcome. My name is Anna Seahawk, and today we have with us Jerome Shaw. Welcome, Jerome. We're going to have a beautiful conversation about the pranic journey and probably some chit chat about plasma. And why don't you introduce yourself, Jerome, and let's get rolling.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, first of all, Anna. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me, on your show. Thank you for having me here. And I really enjoyed our last conversation together. We talked about so many juicy topics, so many things. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this conversation brings as well. And I just feel like I'm a student of life. I just enjoy learning. I'm a lifelong student, and I feel like I learned so many things as well from so many people. I find, my teacher and a lot of different people, and yeah, I enjoy expanding in every way that I can. So this has just been, I guess, the university of the universe for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I really resonate with that. The more conversations that we have with each other, the better it gets. And it's difficult out there at the moment in the real world or in the flesh world because you don't run into a lot of people like us. So it's really cool that we have this technology that we can connect to each other from all around
Absolutely.
the world. It's magical, and I love your poetry, so I hope I inspire some of that out of you today. And it was such a pleasure to talk to you last time. I'm really interested in how you how you came to be on this pranic path that you're on. Like, what was sort of your first inspiration, or how did you get started? And what in reflection, what would you have sort of maybe done differently if you had it to start again, if anything at all?
Good question. Good question. So, wow, starting right off. So, I feel like what catalyzed it was a lot of pain, but fortunately not physical pain, but it was emotional pain. So it was a lot of, I wasn't sick or bedridden, or I wasn't like on my last leg thinking like, how do I extend my life, or how can I feel healthier in my body? I was just very dissatisfied, with my life up to that point. I had just had a separation with my ex-wife. We had been together for a decade. So 10 years of being together, tied together, being in multiple apartments, houses, and just our identity was really linked. And when we separated, it felt like a piece of me separated. It felt like a piece of myself was split, a piece of my mind was split, a piece of my heart was split. And a lot of that, it felt like it took a long time to heal those wounds. And both of us were healing in our own ways. But what was revealing for me was when I left Texas, where we had lived together, where we met each other. We were high school sweethearts. When I left Texas and I drove to California. This is when so many things began, so many things started. In California, of all places, I was searching for anything. I was on meetup.com on my cell phone. And it's interesting because we say a lot about technology, but I have technology to think about, just to thank for so many things. Like you said, it brings us together in so many lovely and beautiful ways all across the world, all across the globe. But it sat me down and helped me tune in with my breath, helped me tune in with myself in another way that I wasn't used to, that I wasn't accustomed to. Apps like Insight Timer and Headspace, they got me into my heart space. It was, funnily enough, it just helped me to breathe and to receive a lot more just by breathing, and to know that there was an energy that was always available, even if I couldn't put my finger on it or couldn't pinpoint it, what it actually is. It is. And it's keeping us thriving, and not just surviving. So when I looked up on meetup.com, which was one of the apps that I wanted to find something in the area of Pasadena, California, I was there at that moment. I found a meditation seminar with these monks and nuns from Myanmar. And I went to their meditation seminar. They taught me about, Buddhist traditions, Buddhist cultures, Buddhist philosophy, reasons why we suffer, things that we're doing that are really unnecessary. And their meditation center, their monastery was called Thabarwa Mindfulness and Detachment Center. And it was just based on nature. They taught me impermanence nature, that nothing is permanent, but because nothing is permanent, we get to exist, and it was something so beautiful about like impermanence that kind of erased a lot of the fear surrounding not being here. There's a lot of fear of not being here, but they kind of let go of that fear when I realized that it's because nothing is permanent that I get to exist. I was able to be in another mind state, another mentality that kind of reshaped my reality in that way.
Yeah.
So when she was teaching me this, and it was just a lady, one of the nuns, head shaven, wearing the robes, and she was just writing on this whiteboard, just telling me about all these things that I had never heard before. Like in all my years, this was not the knowledge they taught us in college, right? This was not the conscious curriculum that I grew up understanding. Afterwards, she asked me if I wanted to stay with them. And I was very puzzled. I was like, wait, what do you mean? Even my own family members at the time weren't as kind and gracious as she was, just to let me in, just a complete stranger. You can come and you can meditate here if you want. You can eat over here if you want. You can sleep over here if you want. You can be over here when you want. And there was no strings attached. They didn't
Wow.
even ask me to volunteer. Of course, I ended up volunteering, helping them doing alms round, helping them collect donations and just the things that they would do in different locations. I ended up doing that because, I mean, they melted my heart, They just, right from the start, they melted my heart. They were like, you can be here whenever, just park your spirit here and we will hear it here. So that was the start. And then watching the ways that they maneuver throughout this matrix, the way that they're very mindful about everything that they do, from their words to their silence, to their presence, to their peace, to just the energy that they put out and emit and radiate in the world. I wanted to strive to be more like them. And during that time, I was shaving my head. I had my own clippers. I was shaving my head just like the monks and nuns. I even wore robes a little bit, just out of the monks and nuns, but I never donned the actual robes. I never became a monk myself, but I was very influenced by their forms of meditation and how they kind of existed in a mode of relaxation that wasn't adhered to by the rest of the world around them. We're in the middle of Los Angeles. We're in the city of angels, right? The city of dreams, the city of, movers and
Yeah.
shakers and change makers, right? But here are these monks and nuns just in this ecosystem, out of the ego system, right?
Wow.
They're in this own ecosystem away from the ego. They're separated, but they're connected, right? So it was just this whole paradoxical plane of existence, and it was changing my perception at every level. They had books all over the walls on the shelves, and I was just absorbing, just hungrily, just reading, searching for more knowledge. And I remember I had a conversation with one of the nuns, and she said, because she saw that I was fasting, they don't eat afternoon, so I started fasting, afternoon just like them, and then I took it even further, and I kind of went into liquids, just kind of intuitively. I just kind of started going less and less. And she asked me, "Hey, Jerome, do you know that there's actually people that don't eat?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean don't eat? What do you mean don't eat? What do you mean? Like, it's me. You can talk to me, like, level with me. And she was like, "Yeah, there's people that don't eat, and Jerome, there's even people that don't drink. Like, there's people that don't consume at all, that they just live, and that's it. They just live." And I was like, "What?" And at the time, their chief monk, and his name was Sayado. He's still alive today. He's still migrates and moves around and teaches meditation. Sayadaw, the chief monk at the Barwa, he was on a liquid diet. This was back in 2019. And he had already been on a liquid diet for the last 2 years at that time. So he had consumed nothing solid, but everything was liquefied. And he was just, living that way. So something within me was able to accept a new idea. Yeah, I was like puzzled by this, but at the same time, I had gotten to such a level in life that I was ready to accept anything new, like
Yeah.
something new, something refreshing, something exciting, something to
Show me
renew,
something extraordinary.
something, I need something. This can't be it. I knew this wasn't it. There was more, there had to be more. So that was when I started to explore and find more that was in store for me.
Oh, I love how you speak. You hit on so many things, the breath and like heartbreak and the breath. I had my own heartbreak story, and I mean that's kind of how it, in a way, this all started for me too. I found myself on the floor and I realized that I wasn't breathing, that something was breathing me. So the breath, yeah, that's a huge one. And how you speak about nature and how it's always changing.
Yeah.
And Annabelle, I just had an interview with her a few days ago, and she was talking about that too, of the memories and how they change. Also, our memories also change because, time passes and things fade away. Some of the things fade away. And how nature is such a beautiful mirror for that. And even in this change, it's still really beautiful. It's like the rose bud, and then it opens up, and the vibrancy of the colors there. And then that changes, but it's all a beautiful process. You're like, oh wow, look at how dark and more rich the colors of the rose petal are when they're drying up. And even fall. Now we're coming into fall, and all of the colors that we're going to see in the fall season, and just the beauty and change, and the beauty to be able to change, and to be able to change ourselves. So yeah. So I'm guessing you wouldn't have changed any of that. What a amazing introduction to the pranic journey. It was like a child going into a shop full of crystals for the first time, and you're just like captivated by all of these things that you learn in that space.
Yeah, I still feel like a child, I
Yeah.
still it's very much still alive within me. That curious nature, the curiosity. Yeah.
This Shivambu really brought that back into my life because you just feel so more clear,
Right.
and you start to feel like a crystal in
Right.
some kind of way.
For sure.
So, how did you begin Shivambu?
So that happened a little bit into the journey. So in February of 2020, that's when it started. That's when I started practicing, and I've been practicing since then. So it happened upon me that YouTube will take you down these pathways where YouTube has this rabbit hole of algorithms, like how deep do you want to go down this rabbit hole? Like when you click on this video, it's telling the program, okay, they like this, maybe he'll like that. Okay, he clicked on that, he's watching that, right? He spent some time on this. Well, maybe he'll like this, and then oh, he liked this. Okay, maybe he'll like. So it was suggesting me videos, and then one of the videos that it suggested, Anna, was a video with a lady named Monica Shuett. You know Monica Shuett?
I probably do. I'm just not placing the name with the face right now.
Yeah.
But I never forget a face, but I sometimes forget names. But go ahead.
Yeah, Monica, she's a big proponent with Shivambu, with urine therapy, just with all things plasma. She's been a big proponent and just a big speaker. There's different speakers, like I know Harry Matadine, he speaks on it a lot. I have a couple of his books, actually, Harry Matadine, Brother Sage, Lidu, Shivambu, and there's just tons of other people that have spoken. But Monica Shuett was the lady that I first saw doing an interview just like this one. And I was watching her interview, and it was her energy, her vibrancy, her joy, her bliss, her love, just what
Yeah.
she was putting through the technology. It was hitting me. She was just projecting it, and it was just flowing from her. Like her cup ran over. It was running over.
Yeah.
It was spilling off the top, and it was coming. It was hitting me. I was like, oh my God. Like whatever
I'm
she's
missing
having,
out.
yeah, like I want what she's having.
Give me a cup.
Tell me what she's having. Yeah. And when I found out what she was having, I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. Wait, you're telling me what?
It's not apple juice? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
no, it wasn't, no. So
It's
when
not
I,
goji berries?
no, it wasn't any of that. It was something, and so it was much closer to home than I realized.
Yeah,
And so,
no doubt.
so yeah, that really sparked, once again, that sparked my curiosity, because I was like, if this lady has so much energy, has all of this vitality, and has this kind of mentality where she sees the world in such a way that, I mean, just her perspective, it was like just so captivating, the way that she saw things that everybody else kind of takes for granted. She was able to see something that seemed so small, but for her it was everything.
Yeah.
It was so big. So I wanted to feel that, and to reveal that for myself. And I realized that this wasn't even just, for that aspect, but it was also, there was a health aspect that she was talking about, purifying the vessel, purification, and how this was actually just washing away things that no longer needed to be there. And that it
Right.
purified her to such a way that now she was able to have a different mindset. Now she was able to work through her emotions. Now she did have a lot less physical ailments and illnesses to worry about, because she was in that state of purity through her own water. So I ventured to try this, and when I first tried it, Anna, it was very eye-opening. I had to get past a lot of mental barriers.
This is why we changed the name right away. We didn't call it, these other dirty words. It's
Right.
like swearing in our house. So it's Shivambu or,
Plasma.
yeah, or plasma.
Plasma,
Yeah.
yeah. So I had to break through all of those mental barriers, because, I mean, for 28 years of my life at that time, I had been told that it was something entirely different. I had been told that I should avoid it, that I should flush it away, that I shouldn't touch it, that it was filthy. And so I had to really just break that down. And so as I started to sip, when I was taking my first sips, I was mentally reprogramming and reciting in my mind over and over, like an affirmation, like
Yeah.
mineral water, mineral water, mineral water, mineral water, just
Yeah. That's
programming
kind of what we
myself.
were doing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard it through allegedly Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But have you heard of Chris Manley?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. He's really quite far along on the Pranic journey. He's been a big inspiration for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of your info that you got on the YouTube, that must have been before they tweaked the algorithms to prioritize misdirection. Because I don't think it's like that
Maybe,
anymore.
yeah, maybe I was able to get in earlier. Yeah, maybe I got lucky. Perhaps I got lucky. But yeah, that was
Amazing.
what started my journey, and then it progressed from there. Slowly, it evolved. It became the evolved plasma. I started aging it. I started leaving it around and allowing it to build, and growing more stem cells, growing more potency, more powerful, still
Solarizing and
more
all kinds of,
solarizing.
it's
Yeah,
just
just
so crazy what you can do with it, hey?
yeah, the crystallization, the solarization, just the vibration of it all was really awesome. Yeah.
And then it lets go. You really get to see more clearly your addictions to things and
Yeah.
how that comes from this lack of nourishment not just nourishment from, ingestion, like nutrition or nourishment, but like spiritual nourishment. It
Right.
seems to wake that spiritual, so, I mean, you feel so much more connected and in touch with the divine, and you feel like divinely created, that this is, one of my first things, I was like, of course that's where they would hide it. Like right in our own body. Now, you don't have to go anywhere for it. It doesn't cost anything. It's not free on tap.
Yes. Breathe. Yes.
Yeah. So it really brought like my faith and sort of brought that back into my life again. I wouldn't call myself an atheist, but it really brought that spiritual aspect back into my fully back into my reality.
Beautiful.
And just made me believe in magic again and
Yeah.
miracles and all of that. Did you see any of Florinda Gardner's work?
No.
Oh, I'm going to have to send you that.
Please
So
do.
I'm going to be doing an interview with her soon, actually. Well, we have nothing firmly booked yet, but it's in the wings. And she works with microscopy. So she's viewed the plasma under like high strength microscopes, and
Oh.
she sees the sacred geometry in the people that do plasma cycling. Their plasma has, like, the crystals in it have this sacred geometry aspect to it, where the people that don't cycle their plasma, it's like the seed of it is there, but it never grows.
Okay.
So really interesting stuff, and she's coming out with a book soon also.
So it's like the seed of potential is there, but it never manifests.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
I know, hey?
Microscopy. Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'd love to look into it.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. You can actually go onto Amanda Vollmer's
Okay.
site. She just recently did an interview with her, and they showed she screen shared and showed some of the images, and of course she shared her own story too of how plasma drastically influenced her life as well. And yeah, you can kind of pick us out sometimes. Like when we were walking down the street, Lee found another guy in Chiapas just because he was looking at the language he was using, or listening to the language he was using, and then saw like the radiance in his skin, and it's like different from all of the other people around him. And he said the word Shivambu, and he was like, "Ooh, like these two, it's like, oh, you too." Like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing a reflection. You're making that connection. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really, the addiction in the world today, this is like definitely for me, the antidote for all of that. And the pranic journey just kind of started to happen naturally, because you feel this capability, you actually feel the capability of that in the body. So you got the message from the monastery, but then when you do Shivambu, you kind of realize how possible that is.
Yes. Yeah. On every level.
Beautiful. We actually I've talked to you a little bit about this before, Twitter Spaces. I'm going to encourage you again to get on there, because there's a whole little club of us there. It's like a radio show, actually.
Okay.
It's like live radio, because it's only audio. There's no video. So all of the shy people that don't want to be seen, like, they go there and they get to have a chance to talk. And it's like a big chat room, but people really run them like sacred circle spaces. There's a host and a co-host usually, and then people take turns sharing their stories there. And there's a budding interest happening in this subject, and a lot of people listening in are starting to get really curious. So you would be a welcome voice there for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds very reminiscent. Like when I remember when Clubhouse first came out, that was very revolutionary for me to be in spaces like that. It sounds like Twitter Spaces, like an evolution of that. Like it's taking it even further. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we have a little, someone actually asked a question here. I'll just read the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's funny how it enhances your connection with with source. I'm wondering why that actually is the stem cells. What's your take on it?
Enhances your connection with source. Wondering why is that the stem cell? They're asking if that's the stem cells.
I'm wondering why that actually is the stem cells. What is your take on it? So,
Hmm. Well, I know it definitely enhanced my connection with myself, for sure, on so many levels. Because for me, it seems to me like one of the greatest expressions of self-love there could be. You know,
yeah.
like when you not just self-care, but self-love. You know, like just to love that part of yourself that has been
Oh,
discarded for so long. I mean, what else? Yeah.
yeah.
So it allowed
Beautiful.
me to love myself at such a deep level that I didn't know was possible, you know? So I was learning to love parts of myself that had been shamed before and had so much stigma, had been so stigmatized and so, yeah, just so villainized, So, yeah, it was honestly it was very liberating. It was very liberating because to know that you had something so close to you all this time. It's like, of course. I think you said it before, Anna. You were like, how are we designed? We're designed so perfectly. Like we have all that we need. It's
Yeah,
perfection.
I had like this whole new reverence for my body
Yeah.
like I'd never felt before. I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it I think is the how it that cleaning ability that the plasma has and the that for the mind, for the pineal gland. Like I don't even like to name all these things like that, but anyway, like just how cleaning it is for your body and decalcifying, and so it brings that spirituality out because it's like getting rid of all of the junk
Yeah.
that you have stuck inside your body that's keeping that spark, that connection from happening
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some way.
Anything that's short circuiting or trying to interrupt that transmission, it gets filtered out for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, she's saying beautiful answer, Jerome. Yes, I agree. Oh, I had another question and now I forgot my thread.
It'll come back to you. It'll come back. Yeah.
Or something else will. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna actually, yeah, making peace with the body fluids, right? Like, kind of like what you were saying. And before I got into plasma therapy, I actually experimented for a year with humanure. So before I got into Shivambu, I sort of made peace with, the detritus that was coming out of my body because I did a year of experimentation with that, and in the end I had this like beautiful dark rich fertile soil in my hands, and I was just like, wow, this is actually what like we can bring this back into nature and make
Mhm.
this beautiful thing out of this part of our body that's been that we throw out. And yeah, I went kind of crazy with it with my parents. I'm like, you don't need a septic field. The only reason why it's septic is because you're putting that into it. And then all I could see was like gray water tanks in everybody's
Mhm.
front yards instead of septic
Yeah.
tanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really blew my mind. And I knew a bit about how plasma was a beautiful fertilizer
Mhm.
then too. So all of the answers are actually really simple to a lot of the big problems that we have. It's just our engagement, really.
Yeah. It's simple we make things complex. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much, there's nothing much more simple than plasma cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fountain of youth is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
elixir.
amazing. And how did people around you, because you get like a lot of kickback for this from family and people close to you, which is interesting because then you're glowing. So how was that experience for you?
Yeah. So partly, over the years, I had been very reluctant to even talk about it because so many of my family members, they actually still don't know. They don't know. I mean, I have no fear of talking about it here, but I mean, there's a lot of my family that they still have no idea. Now, the people that are closest to me, my mother and father, they know, and they didn't agree with it, of course. They both retired military. They come from the military. My mom's a doctor, and my dad, he served in the army, and both of them have thoughts on, you know, our plasma and what they feel like it is and what they feel like it's not. And so their ideas, are very strong. They have a lot more years under their belt than I do. And no one is a prophet in their own home. So I was not trying to persuade them in any means. I was just trying to let them know their son wasn't crazy. Like that. Yeah, I went to college, I got my bachelor's degree, and I did like this, but I haven't suddenly lost my mind, just because I picked up this new thing. This is actually an ancient thing. It's like an old thing that is coming back to the forefront. It's resurfacing, I feel like now, but I feel like in the past, I think intuitively, we already knew these things. Somehow they kind of got lost, over the ages, or maybe like maybe people forgot, and we're just remembering. We're just remembering. We're coming back together in this knowledge. So a lot of my family, they'd actually prefer it that, I don't eat. So I don't eat solid food. They're cool with that. But the moment if I tell them that I drink my own plasma, whoa, like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? That's when we have a problem. So they're actually, I mean, they're fine with me not eating. But yeah, if I mentioned, what I'm actually consuming, what I'm actually drinking, they'd be very off-put. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd be looking at me very sideways. So I honestly don't talk about it to people who don't resonate, and it's not something that I proclaim, to so many people. Like the message, I'm not out, evangelizing or proselytizing, but I know the power for me, and I know that it's helped me. So for me, that's enough, you know.
Yeah.
And if anybody has questions and they ask, then I always let them know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm never reluctant to answer if somebody does have questions, but unless they ask, I usually don't tell. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we just drop clues
Yeah.
actually. And then people see in us like, you
Right.
know, that's why I share my picture really so people can see the results of my lifestyle.
Yes.
But it just comes out in conversation and I don't ever use the dirty words for it. So it's all people have to go look or they have to come and ask like, okay, what is Shivambu and what is this plasma and how is it free?
Right. Right. How does that work? Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that one of the people watching on live, they're saying thank you for taking the time to answer. I appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us here and ask. So thank you. We have she's saying I'm extremely grateful for you guys to have the courage to share. I can't help being extremely servitive about it. I don't want to have that judgment to deal with. Yeah, this is the people that have the courage to speak about it, I like talking to them because like what's happening in Twitter spaces now is it's like the 100th monkey. It's like when you have enough people to support you, then it's easier to come out and say, oh yeah, I'm actually doing that too. which is actually what's happening on Twitter Spaces now. People are coming out of the closet and saying, yes, actually, I also do this, and thank you for speaking up, because they felt too alone and vulnerable
Right.
to say it.
Right. And
Yeah.
there's so many people in the industry, you know, I've talked to a few. I mean, I know people in the acting and modeling industry that use it topically, you know, on their skin for beautifying reasons, you know, just for youthful reasons, for just to look younger, to reverse, you know, reverse things and have their skin look a lot better. They know about it, but
Right.
they don't talk about it, but
Well,
they know
who's
about
going to
it.
tell anybody that is in an industry like that they
Yeah.
do that? Because it would be like so much, like she was saying, like too
Right.
much judgment to deal with.
Way too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it feels like a powerful time right now, actually, for this.
For sure.
I think a lot of people are going to be surprised when they hear, when they continue to hear stories like this. Yeah, I don't know what else I have to. I'm sure I'm going to think of a ton of other things, but I would love to kind of have a regular meetup, even possibly like once a month or something like that with you, and
Awesome.
do a little plasma sharing and pranic roundup.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you, Jerome. The people you're interviewing and all of the stuff that you're sharing, it's like really remarkable what you're doing. And
Thank
I
you.
have a lot of gratitude for your spirit and for shining your light for us. It's like
Thank you.
beautiful.
It's my pleasure. You know, really, this is like food for me, you know, so I feel just as nourished, you know, so thank you. Thank you for receiving that.
Well, I think this is a beautiful time to wrap it up. I know you've had a super long day. You just got out of a live before you came on another live. So, and you're still like as sparkly as the day started with the
Yeah,
sun. So, thank you very much.
absolutely.
And everybody should go check out Jerome Shaw's channel. Yeah, continue the good work.
We will. We will. You as
Okay.
well. Likewise. Likewise.
Thank you so
Right.
much. Okay, I hope I didn't hang every